Thank you, Lions, for everything. This was a hell of a season. I don't give a piss about nothing but the pride. Thank you. We'll be back. We will be back.
Looking for a throw. Amendola's got a man open, and he's got it for the touchdown.
In just 3 years, Brad Holmes has turned the Detroit Lions into winners.
And, we have a culture of accountability, and, we often say that, we're trying to do it the right way, but sometimes the right way is kind of the hard way.
Taking over a team that always seemed to lose, Holmes built them into a real threat in the NFL. Now, Lions fans finally have a team they can cheer for in the playoffs. Lions fans, we've suffered together. Now we're rising together. If you feel that pride burning like I do, hit subscribe and let's witness this Holmes revolution together.
The Lions have a new general manager, and he spoke today.
Through all of this, we will keep laser focused on the main thing, and that's improving football and to serve a championship to the city of Detroit. In this passionate fan base, one pride deserves that.
When Holmes took over as Lions GM in 2021, Detroit was a team lost in the wilderness. After decades of disappointment, including the 0-16 season in 2008 and just one playoff appearance since 2000, fans had almost given up hope.
Disappointing. It's kind of depressed, waking up.
But Holmes brought something different, a keen eye for talent and a proven track record from his time with the LA Rams, where he helped build a Super Bowl roster. His football journey started in Tampa, Florida, where the game wasn't just a sport, it was family tradition. His father, Melvin Holmes, played offensive line for the Pittsburgh Steelers during the Steel Curtain era, giving young Brad a front row seat to NFL excellence. But unlike many NFL legacies, Brad didn't coast on his father's name. He learned the unglamorous side of football, the 4 a.m. film sessions, the endless scouting trips, the importance of building through the draft. Even as a teenager in the mid-90s, when most kids were collecting trading cards, Holmes was already showing signs of his future GM skills. While his peers watched highlights, he studied college game film and created his own draft boards, tools that would later help him spot talents like Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 4th round and Kirby Joseph in the 3rd. His high school friend Gabe Galdos recalls how Holmes could break down player potential in ways that seemed almost prophetic. This dedication led him to North Carolina A&T, where he anchored the defensive line and helped bring home a MEAC championship. His understanding of the game from a player's perspective would later prove invaluable in his front office career. But during Christmas break in 1999, a pivotal moment would change his path forever.
Have a near fatal car accident. Just get sidelined, and I'm in ICU for a week, and it was. I'm very blessed and lucky to pull through that.
The car accident left him in a coma, requiring multiple surgeries, and a stroke paralyzed his right side.
Had a coma, stroke, was paralyzed all the way on my right side.
For a former defensive lineman used to overpowering opponents, this new battle would test him in ways football never could. But just like he'd study game film for hours, Holmes attacked his recovery with the same relentless focus. Through grueling physical therapy sessions that reminded him of 2-a-day practices, speech therapy that demanded the same patience as breaking down game tape, and rehabilitation exercises that built his strength back, rep by rep.
A big part of my rehab process was my grandfather coming down, and my grandfather played golf twice a day, and just driving his cart.
Really?
Kind of just getting used to even driving again, stuff like that. You go through all this occupational therapy.
He showed the fighting spirit that would later help him rebuild the Lions. The doctors weren't sure I'd fully recover.
Never forget that my college coach, Bill Hayes, visited me in the hospital. He sees one of his players in an ICU bed mangled up, and I'm sitting there telling him that I'm going to play again.
But in football, you learn that when everyone doubts you, that's when you dig deeper.
If you have something that you believe, always believe it, and don't let anybody take your dreams away.
This experience would later shape his GM philosophy of giving chances to overlooked players like Hutchinson, who some teams passed on, but became a cornerstone of Detroit's defense. This devastating setback became a foundation for his future success, teaching him lessons about resilience that would prove invaluable in transforming one of the NFL's most struggling franchises.
When I got done playing, I knew I wanted to get in the NFL and, try to get into scouting. And I sent my resume to all the teams like everybody else does. And my dad had a couple of connections, but none of that fell through. So my mom was basically like, dude, you got to come back home. You know, you just got to come home and just figure it out. And so I moved back home.
Through sheer determination, Holmes transformed his setback into an incredible comeback story. After months of rehabilitation, he returned to the field stronger and faster than ever before, shocking even himself. His teammates watched in awe as he not only reclaimed his starting spot, but led the team as captain to an impressive 8-3 season. His coaches, seeing his remarkable resilience, would often say he had the heart of a lion, a phrase that would prove prophetic years later when rebuilding Detroit. This grit carried over when his playing career ended. Like many NFL prospects who don't make it to the pros, Holmes refused to let that define him. His journey from near tragedy to triumph had taught him valuable lessons about evaluating character and resilience, skills he'd later use to spot diamonds in the rough, like Malcolm Rodriguez, a 6th-round pick who became a key defensive starter for the Lions. Like many NFL hopefuls, Holmes started from the bottom. He took a job at Enterprise Rent-A-Car while persistently chasing his football dreams.
Yeah, I was renting cars for Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I'm wearing the shirt and tie, washing cars and renting cars, and all I'm doing is I'm thinking about sports. And that was a very psychological and emotional period of my life.
Just as he'd scout talent in Detroit years later, Holmes' eye for opportunity led him to the Atlanta Hawks media relations team in 2002.
You were an Atlanta Hawks public relations, entry-level guy doing PR for the Atlanta Hawks.
This path, though unconventional, taught him valuable lessons about evaluation and persistence, skills he'd use to discover overlooked talents like Derek Barnes and Josh Pascal for the Lions defense. Juggling 2 jobs, Holmes showed the same work ethic that would define his GM career. He'd put in full days with the Hawks before heading to Atlanta's airport for late-night Enterprise shifts. Like future Lions stars Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs pulling double duty in training camp, Holmes' dedication to his craft never wavered, even when it meant burning the midnight oil. A lunch with Rams executive Dwayne Lewis changed Holmes' path forever. Seeing Holmes' determination, Lewis offered him a PR internship with the St. Louis Rams. Without hesitation, Holmes packed a U-Haul and headed to St. Louis, much like how he had later convinced free agents like C.J. Gardner-Johnson to take a chance on Detroit. Starting in PR, Holmes embraced the grunt work, building a reputation for reliability. His standout performance caught attention upstairs, leading to a scouting role where his true talents emerged. Like Lions scout Roman Pfeiffer finding hidden gems, Holmes developed a special eye for both talent and character. This gift helped the Rams strike gold with picks like Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, and Todd Gurley, much as he'd later do in Detroit with Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown. His approach wasn't just about statistics. He looked for the fire in players' eyes, the resilience in their stories, and the leadership in their character, traits he'd prioritize when rebuilding the Lions. By the time the Rams reached Super Bowl 53 in 2019, Holmes' fingerprints were all over that roster. His reputation for identifying championship-caliber talent spread across the league. In 2021, after 18 years of climbing the NFL ladder, his moment arrived.
I'm a very big first impression person, and usually within 2 or 3 minutes of every interview, I'd write a quick note to myself of what was my first impression. And my first impression of Brad was, this is the guy.
The Detroit Lions needed more than just a talented GM. They needed a culture changer. They found both in Holmes, whose eye for character had helped build the Rams' Super Bowl roster. Like Bill Polian transforming the Bills in the 80s, Holmes understood that rebuilding Detroit required not just skill evaluation, but identifying players with heart and determination. His first major move would shake the NFL landscape. When franchise QB Matthew Stafford asked for a trade rather than endure another rebuild, Holmes turned to familiar territory. He looked to his old team, the Rams, and quarterback Jared Goff, a player he'd helped draft first overall in 2016.
Well, I remember when we were hammering out the details of the trade, obviously, Stafford was getting traded to the Rams, but I never forget Les asked me, he was like, do you want Jared in this trade? And I was like, hell yeah. Like, absolutely. Like, it wasn't like, just give me any quarterback. No, I was like, no, I want Jared in this trade.
Like when Bill Belichick traded Drew Bledsoe to make way for Tom Brady, Holmes knew this pivotal move would define his tenure. Building through the draft, Holmes reshaped Detroit's roster with players who matched his vision of toughness and leadership. First-round pick Penei Sewell anchored the offensive line, while fourth-round steal Amon-Ra St. Brown emerged as a dynamic playmaker. Like Bill Walsh drafting Joe Montana and Ronnie Lott to build the 49 ER's dynasty, Holmes found players who brought both talent and competitive fire, traits that would help transform the Lions from underdogs to contenders. Holmes built depth across every position, a strategy reminiscent of the great Steelers teams of the 70s. He sought players whose grit matched Detroit's working-class identity, like Derek Barnes and Kirby Joseph.
In the 2022 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Kirby Joseph.
Late-round picks who became defensive cornerstones. In 2022, his masterful draft approach continued as he landed game-changers like Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston, proving his ability to find talent throughout all rounds. However, his choices in 2023, selecting tight end Sam Laporta and running back Jahmyr Gibbs, faced some criticism as some questioned the value of these early picks. Just like Bill Parcells silenced critics by rebuilding the Patriots in the 90s, Holmes proved his doubters wrong. His vision of blending talent with character transformed Detroit into a playoff contender. By sticking to his plan, drafting warriors like Jameson Williams and Isaiah Buggs, Holmes showed that the same old Lions were dead. The new Detroit Lions, built on grit and determination, had finally arrived. Under Holmes' leadership, the Lions have shed their underdog label. Like the 49 ER's rise under Eddie DeBartolo Jr., Holmes has built a powerhouse through smart drafting and culture change. His journey from hospital bed to NFL front office mirrors Detroit's own transformation, from perpetual strugglers to championship contenders. The Motor City finally has a team as resilient as its people.
Zone touchdown, Detroit Lions! Oh, baby!
With young stars like Hutchinson, St. Brown, and Laporta leading the charge into a new era of Lions football. Listen, fam, if you felt that Lions spirit today, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what Holmes' move made you believe. Until next time, keep roaring.
But without this fucking guy right here, man, Brad Holmes. We got the right dudes in this room. We got the right dudes and the right coaches.
I feel the best I've ever felt in my career, regardless of all the ball I played, because, man, it just feels so good to be a part of something special. So I appreciate all you guys.